Hello everyone, welcome back to another session of Dark Souls PvP and another weapon showcase. This time I'm using the Dragon Greatsword, which you get from cutting off the tail of the stone dragon in Ash Lake. So, getting started, this weapon has a weight of 24 units, so it's pretty heavy. It has a strength requirement of 50, which makes sense because it's so heavy. Other things about the weapon, it has a durability of 400 and uses 50 every time you do its two-handed R2 shockwave from the sword like attack. If you notice under my stamina bar there's a little blue shield with an up arrow, and that is showing that I have an increase to my magic and my fire defenses, and it's an increase of 20 points. It's not much, but it's helpful. Other things about the weapon would include the damage output. It has the highest base damage in the game, but you gotta keep in mind it's got no scalings, no stat bonuses, parameter bonuses, whatever you prefer to call them. It has none. So that base damage is firm. And that base damage is 585 damage, which is, that's nothing I'd want to get hit by. So it's good. Let's see. Any other things about the weapon? It's two-handed strong attacks. That shockwave that it creates, that can go up walls. I don't really see how that's very useful, but it does. So, if anyone's got a use for that or has any experience doing that and it worked out well for you, please share it in the comments. I'm curious. So, yeah. Getting started with the pros and cons now. For the pros of this weapon, I would have to say that the main pro actually would be the stun locking ability the weapon has. Not the strong attack, even though it is really great. That's not the biggest pro of the weapon in my opinion. It's the stun locking ability, because at 53 poise, if you two-hand this weapon and hit someone, it will stun them, and you can keep doing that until they get out of it. Now, I'm not exactly sure how easy it is to get out of that, because I know this weapon is a little bit slower than the Zweihander and Greatsword, because I believe it, well, of course it was Newtaf. For those who are not familiar with Newtaf, shout out to his channel, check it out. He's got these Dark Souls science videos, and in one of them it shows that there are two different swing speeds for the Greatsword class weapons, this being in the slower of the two. So there's that. Other pros of the weapon though, back on topic, back on track, in addition to the stun ability and stamina damage and all that comes with it, it has that strong attack, which, as I said before, can travel up walls. If that's a pro to anyone, please. I really am curious about that. I really want to know. But yeah. It's got that strong attack, which can be used to chase people down, and if you're good at free aiming it, which I'm working on, but I have a long way to go with it, it can be extremely useful and be really good at chasing people down. And right there, that was a bit upsetting. I was going for a rolling attack, and my controller had some input delay, and it turned my rolling attack attempt into a regular R1. And it got me killed. But, oh well, it happens. Oh well, no big deal. Let's see. That pretty much sums up the pros of the weapon. Now, the cons of the weapon, on the other hand, it has a really slow recovery time in comparison to the other Ultra Greatswords. It's in the slower swing speed class of them, so of course it's got the slower recovery time. Actually, that's something I forgot to mention right there about the R2 attack. That's a pro. If the person has heavy armor and is stacking a lot of poise, then the attack actually can hit them twice as it passes through them, so it can do even more damage. Yeah. Now, where was I in the cons? I mentioned the slow recovery time. It's got a slow swing speed. It can't be buffed, unlike the Dragon King Great Axe, and I think that's pretty much it. There's really not that much to go on with this weapon. It's kind of basic with just a shockwave added on. That shockwave can be very damaging. As you saw, I would just hit 800 some odd damage. So it's good. It would be better if it was more reliable, but then it probably would be a little bit overpowered if it was more reliable. Overall, I really enjoyed this weapon and had a good time using it, and right there, you'll notice I attacked the wall, and I actually did that on purpose, because this thing has such a slow recovery time. If you attack a wall and it deflects off of a wall, you actually have a shorter recovery time from that than letting the weapon finish swinging normally. Or at least it appears that way. Either way, I did it to bait him into an attack, so one thing led to another and it worked out. So, oh well. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Either way, it worked, so that is what it is. Right there, got him with a nice R2 for a 622 damage hit. So yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty damaging. It's not that reliable, though. So, let's see. That's pretty much all I've got to say about it. To quickly recap and sum things up again, the pros of the weapon would include the typical Ultra Greatsword pros, plus the fact that it gives me a slight increase in my defenses to magic and fire, and it's got a shockwave that comes out. The typical cons, or the cons of the weapon are the typical Ultra Greatsword cons, being the slow swing speed, slow recovery, and it's got a slower swing speed and recovery than the Zweihander and the Greatsword. So it's in the slower bracket. Other cons, I really can't think of any. Yeah, that pretty much sums up the video. I can't think of anything. I'm sure I forgot something. Sorry. Anyway, that's that. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.